The day my family disowned me, it was raining. I remember standing in the glass-walled conference room of Harrison Industries, watching raindrops race down the windows. I was 22, just out of business school, and my heart was pounding in my chest. My father slammed a stack of papers on the table. His face was red with anger. "Incompetent," he shouted. "Do you even understand what this mistake could have cost us?" I swallowed hard, trying not to cry. "Dad, I can fix it," I said. "The contract's not final yet." But my older brother Michael sneered. "Fix it? You almost sold our shipping division for half of what it's worth. There's no fixing stupidity like that." I had made a mistake on a draft contract for selling one of our smaller companies, Harrison Maritime. I'd used the wrong numbers, old ones that didn't include our newest ships. It was caught before the deal closed, but to them, it was like I had nearly destroyed everything. "I trusted you," my father said, his voice lower now. "You had one job. And you let us down." I wanted to explain. I was exhausted, working non-stop for weeks. I was handling 2 major deals at the same time, because they'd dumped them on me. But in our family, excuses didn't matter. Only results did. Then my mother appeared at the door, dressed in a perfect Chanel suit. She looked calm, cold, and in control. "Jack," she said to my father. "The board is waiting." My father adjusted his tie. "We'll finish this later." But we never did. That evening, I was called to his study. It was the same room where my grandfather and great-grandfather had once made major decisions for the company. It smelled like leather and old books. And that night, it felt like the room where my future ended. "You're done here," my father said flatly. "The board doesn't trust your judgment. Your job is terminated. Effective immediately." I blinked. "You're firing me? You'll get 6 months severance," he said. "After that, you're on your own." "But I'm your daughter," I whispered. "That's what makes this even more painful," he replied. "We trusted you to carry our name with pride. You failed." Then my mother stepped into the room. I hadn't even noticed she was there. "We've arranged a position for you at your uncle's firm in Seattle," she said calmly. "Far away from New York. Far away from this mess. You want me to leave the city?" Her lips barely moved. "It's been decided. Your flight leaves tomorrow." "What if I say no?" My father's voice turned ice cold. "Then you get nothing. No money. No job. No family support. You're on your own." I looked at them, shocked. These were the same people who had pushed me into business school, who had told me from the time I was little that I had to live up to the Harrison legacy. And now, because of one mistake, they were throwing me away. Just as I left the room, someone else entered, my grandfather, Thomas Harrison too. He looked furious. "Jack, you fool," he snapped. "You don't even realize what you're losing." My father tried to stand his ground. "The board." "The board?" Grandpa laughed bitterly. "The board you packed with yes-men? The ones who've forgotten what it took to build this company?" He turned to me then, his face softening. "Emma, come stay with me. We'll figure this out." But I shook my head. My heart hurt too much. "No, Grandpa. They made their choice." That night, I didn't go to Seattle. I checked into a hotel, paid with my own credit card, and sat on the bed staring at my laptop. I opened the contract, the one they said I had messed up. Something felt off. The way the contract was written, it wasn't how I usually formatted my documents. The spacing, the language, it didn't match. My gut told me to look deeper. I pulled up my original draft from a backup drive I kept. And there it was. Someone had changed it. Someone had taken my work and altered it to make it look like I was careless. Someone had set me up. Michael. He had been too quick to blame me. Too eager to act like the hero in front of the board. He wanted to be the only heir. I thought of my grandfather's words, "You have no idea what you're throwing away." But maybe I did. That night, I made a decision. I wouldn't run. I wouldn't disappear. I would stay close, watch everything, and learn the truth. Then, my phone buzzed. A message from my grandfather. Nothing is what it seems. Emma, watch. Wait. Learn. I didn't fully understand what he meant. But I would. Over the next year, I started my own business in Boston, a small consulting firm called Phoenix Maritime Solutions. Quiet, smart, efficient. I stayed under the radar but close enough to New York to keep an eye on Harrison Industries. My grandfather kept sending me tips. Watch the Singapore shipping routes. Pay attention to the Anderson merger. It turned out, the contract I wrote, the one they blamed me for, had a hidden clause. Clause 23.4, subsection B. I had added it for legal protection, but it ended up being the key to everything. It said that if the division was ever restructured, the original signatory would have first rights to the Pacific Rim shipping routes. At the time, it meant nothing. But years later, when the company decided to restructure, that clause gave me control of some of Harrison Maritime's most valuable assets. Meanwhile, Michael was living like a king. Featured in business magazines. Winning awards. Making speeches. But my grandfather and I knew the truth. His success was built on shaky ground. 10 years passed. I grew my firm slowly but powerfully. We became known for solving problems no one else could. We had loyal clients. Strong numbers. A quiet reputation for excellence. And then, just like my grandfather predicted, Harrison Industries came knocking. They needed access to the Pacific Rim shipping routes. They needed me. I didn't smile when I walked into the same conference room where I was once humiliated. I didn't say, "I told you so." I didn't need to. Because now, I held the power. Quietly. Legally. Completely. My phone buzzed again. One final message from my grandfather, sent before he passed away. In business, as in chess, the queen is the most powerful piece. Even if some fools think she's just a pawn. He was right. 10 years ago, they cast me aside. But in doing so, they gave me everything I needed to rise. And they never saw it coming. All the company meetings were always held in small Kunau, far away from the headquarters in Manhattan. It was Michael's decision. My brother had been running things ever since I was pushed out, and I could see what he was doing, making risky moves for quick profits without thinking about the future. I sat across from my grandfather in a quiet cafe, stirring my coffee. The expansion into Asia, it's all for show, I said. Grandpa's eyes sparkled with understanding. He's been using the Maritime Division's assets as collateral. He thinks the ships are the most valuable part, but he doesn't get it. The real value has always been in the shipping routes, not the ships themselves. I nodded. Exactly. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a stack of papers. Now, let's talk about those route licenses that are up for renewal. We spent the next hour going through contracts and documents. These were the kinds of papers that would have made my father furious if he knew we were even discussing them. But Grandpa wasn't just keeping me updated, he was teaching me. He wanted me to be ready, to understand, to reclaim what was mine. Years passed. I built my own company from the ground up, Phoenix Maritime Solutions. I kept it quiet, kept myself out of the spotlight. I didn't want anyone linking me back to Harrison Industries. My employees were trustworthy and well paid, and they didn't ask questions. That's how I liked it. I dated here and there, but never seriously. The last man I trusted with my real name had gone straight to Michael, trying to score points. After that, I never made that mistake again. My personal life was as private and controlled as my business. Every Christmas, my parents sent a card to my Boston address. I never replied. Inside, there was always some note about how well Michael was doing, how the company was thriving under his leadership. I kept every single one. I filed them in a folder I labeled motivation. But 3 years ago, things started falling apart, for Michael. At first, it was small, whispers about missed payments, late shipments, unhappy clients. Then the stock started acting up. It still looked solid from the outside, but I knew the signs. Cracks were forming. I met with Grandpa one last time before everything changed. Michael mortgaged the company's future. He told me, now those bills are coming due. He looked tired, more than usual. I should have noticed something was wrong. that it might be the last time I saw him. The board is asking questions, he said, especially about the maritime division. They don't understand his restructuring plan. If they try to sell or reorganize the shipping routes, I said, I can trigger my clause, the one you helped me add 10 years ago. He smiled, the clause they never noticed, hidden in the contract they used to push you out. 2 months later, Grandpa had a stroke. The doctors said it was fast, no pain. The official announcement called him a visionary, a business legend. I went to the funeral, standing quietly in the back of the church. I watched my family put on their performance, grieving heirs, loving relatives. Michael gave a moving eulogy, talking about everything Grandpa had taught him. I almost laughed. The only thing Michael had learned from Grandpa was how to take credit for work he didn't do. My parents saw me, but they didn't come over. Maybe they were ashamed, or maybe they were afraid I'd embarrass them. I left early and drove straight to my lawyer. Your grandfather's will is being read next week, she told me. He was very clear about the timing. All major shareholders must attend in person. No one can send someone in their place. That was Grandpa, through and through, always precise, always prepared. For the next few days, I didn't rest. I reviewed every document, every file Grandpa had shared with me. I made sure Phoenix Maritime was in top shape, financially strong, contracts in place, everything ready. The morning of the will reading, I dressed carefully in a dark gray suit. My makeup was flawless. My hair was neat and professional. The scared 22-year-old girl who had been thrown out of her own family's company a decade ago, she was gone. On the way there, my phone buzzed. A news alert: Harrison Industries stock had dropped again. More rumors were spreading. People were worried the company couldn't make its next payments. The timing was perfect. I arrived at the law office, checked my reflection one last time, and stepped into the elevator. In my purse was the original maritime contract with the hidden clause. In my briefcase were documents showing every mistake Michael had made as CEO, and in my mind, I held 10 years' worth of knowledge about how Harrison Industries really worked. The elevator doors opened. The room went silent as everyone saw me. My father dropped his coffee. My mother looked like her perfect world had just cracked. And Michael? He turned pale, completely white. I smiled politely. Hello, family. Shall we begin? We sat in the conference room. Michael was at the head of the table, flanked by our parents. Board members filled the rest of the seats, avoiding my eyes. Mr. Caldwell, Grandpa's longtime lawyer, cleared his throat. Thomas Harrison left detailed instructions for how his will should be read. We will follow them exactly. Michael rolled his eyes. Can we just get on with it? Some of us have a company to run. I said nothing. I knew what was coming. Mr. Caldwell began reading. First, it was the usual stuff: personal gifts, donations, little things for family and staff. My mother cried when she got his jewelry. My father nodded at the big charity donations. Then Mr. Caldwell paused. And now, regarding Harrison Industries. Michael straightened up. To my grandson Michael, Mr. Caldwell read, I leave these words. Power without understanding is like a ship without a rudder. You took control without learning how things really work. You betrayed your sister to rise faster, and now, you will face the consequences. Michael jumped to his feet. This is insane. Sit down, Mr. Caldwell said calmly. There's more. He pulled out a familiar document, my original contract. 10 years ago, this contract was altered to force Emma out of the company. We have proof that Michael made those changes. The board's decision was based on forged evidence. The room buzzed. Board members shifted uncomfortably. And the original contract, Mr. Caldwell continued, contained a clause, Clause 23(4), subsection B, which gives Emma first rights on all Pacific Rim shipping routes if the Maritime Division is ever restructured. Michael laughed. We're not restructuring anything. I calmly held up my phone. You are. That Singapore deal you announced last week, it requires changes to the shipping routes, which means you need my approval, and I'm not giving it. The room exploded. Phones came out. People started whispering. My mother was crying now for real. My father looked like he might pass out. Mr. Caldwell raised his voice. There's one more thing. He pulled out a thick folder. Thomas Harrison's shares, all of them, are being transferred to Emma Harrison. Effective immediately. She now holds the majority stake and voting rights in Harrison Industries. Silence. Michael slumped into his chair. This can't be legal. Mr. Caldwell set down another document. Your grandfather documented every decision, every failure, every warning you ignored. He and Emma worked together, while you were too busy playing the part of CEO. I stepped forward, placing my folder on the table. Phoenix Maritime has everything you've lost: contracts, clients, stability. We didn't take your business, we earned it, while you were burning down your inheritance. My father finally whispered, "You own us now." I shook my head. No, I own what should have been mine 10 years ago. Mr. Caldwell opened one final letter, Grandpa's last words. True leadership is not about grabbing power, it's about earning it. Emma did that, she's the leader this company needs. To the rest of you, learn something, if you can. Michael looked up, his voice shaking. You and Grandpa planned this. No, I said, you planned this the day you forged that contract. We just made sure you'd answer for it. I turned to the board. A car is waiting to take you to Phoenix Maritime. We have a restructuring plan ready. You can stay, prove your value, or leave, your choice. My father stood up. You can't just walk in and take over. I smiled. That's exactly what I'm doing. I turned to leave, then looked back one last time. Oh, and Michael, clear out your office by 5. I'm moving in tomorrow.